Hello, I am Gonzo, and I cannot believe it's already been another month. What? Am I going crazy? Well, probably. Most definitely. And that's only going to be cemented by the obsessive topic of today's video. It's part 4 of the Megaman Robot Master rankings, going through each mainline Megaman game and ranking all of the Robot Masters in a variety of categories on a scale of 1 to 10. These categories range from design to purpose to utility and many, many others. I'll put a full list on the screen somewhere while I'm talking, but I'm trying to make sure the reiteration of the specifics are brief for the people watching these on the monthly when they come out. If you want the full explanation, go and watch the first Robot Master ranking. And at that point, why not watch the other 2 Robot Master rankings? And if you're watching this in the future, how about just checking out the whole series? It would help out a ton. Alongside, the usual stuff that YouTubers ask for to help boost them in the algorithm. But I'm not the type of guy to ask for that. Not up front, of course. But enough of that nonsense. We're moving on to Megaman 4. A rather polarizing group of Robot Masters, to be sure. These games' Robot Masters are a coin flip. Either Kino or garbage, take your pick. A very hit-or-miss list of characters. Okay, let's begin. Starting with... I don't know why I'm dragging this out as if I'm trying to segue into the first robot like there's not an intro for each one. Brightman, the first of many creations we'll see from this game created by Dr. Cossack. For non-Mega Man fans, this means just about nothing, but just know he's a different guy than the other 2 guys. He used to be a villain, then gave Mega Man a bird, and now they're friends. Anyways, back to the light bulb guy. I've always found Brightman's design cute, but I wouldn't say anything aside from the huge light bulb on his head speaks to me in any certain special way. I like his arm cannon looking different than the usual Buster cannon on the other Mega Man Robot Masters. I like how round he is, with what I can only describe as like a slot machine on his chest. Seriously, what is that supposed to be? It's a charming design, but I wouldn't say it's a breakthrough of any sort of Mega Man design norms. It's just pretty good. I'll give him a 7 for design and a 5 for creativity, because the light bulb on his head is a little on the nose. Or on the head. Now for purpose. Brightman was built to be bright, using his big shiny head to illuminate dark areas. And not to throw shade, no pun intended, but... I don't know. I'm having trouble justifying his existence aside from his cute pudgy face. I'd give him a 3. For personality, Brightman is honestly kind of bland compared to the other robots we've talked about so far. He's intelligent, but also a bit of a chatterbox, yapping about one subject for a long time. Say, this is reminding me of someone I know. Oh, also he doesn't like red light districts, har har. Not much substance here, but I like his thematic distaste for something lighting related, so I'll give him a 5. For weapon, Brightman was not made for combat initially, so he has a cannon for a hand, and his light bulb was modified to create an intense light beam called the Flash Stopper. This is really interesting. So Brightman unleashes a flash of light with the power of 10 million watts. And the light is so strong, it activates a safety device in the camera eyes of the Robot Masters in this universe. So it basically blinds them, rendering them immobile for a short time. It's not dissimilar to the time stop Flashman uses in Mega Man 2, except this one has a bit more explanation than Flashman's, who just straight up stops time. And because of how much I like the explanation for why the Flash Stop freezes robots, I'll give it a 7, because that's clever. Now then, the good old safety and utility duo. Brightman is generally pretty harmless, I think. You just gotta watch out for his little arm cannon, as well as cover your eyes if you ever decide to use the Flash Stopper. I'll give him a 6 for safety. For utility, I guess having somebody with a lamp for a head and one functioning arm could be of some use, but his Flash Stopper ability isn't particularly useful against anything but robots from the Mega Man universe. Or if you were needing to blind someone trying to rob you, I guess. I'll give him a 5. For intimidation, yeah, this is how a lot of these guys go, isn't it? I'm sorry, Brightman, you get a 2. Penultimately, we have music. Is that a word? It doesn't sound like a word. I just wanted to think of a more clever way to say second to last. Well, I'm owning it. Penultimately. Where was I? Oh, right, music. It's pretty good. It's not quite as good as the gems we were getting in Mega Man 3, but it's a catchy tune. I especially like that second section where it slows down and they do the little beeps and boops. Very fun to listen to. Can you tell I'm not classically educated in music? I'll give Brightman's theme a 7. And at last, we have Goose Preference. I like him. He's cute, and his weapon is very clever. And because he looks like he has a slot machine on his chest, I'll give him a 777 in the preference category. Good for you, chum. Now then, it's time for math. Brightman managed to amass a total of 55.77%. Just a little higher than right down the middle, and a respectable score for someone of Brightman's stature. His actual popularity score is a little more half and half. Well, it's literally just half. 50% for this guy. I'm surprised he's so balanced. I mean, no offense to Brightman, but he's pretty inoffensive. Not really anything to dislike about him, or feel any strong negative emotion towards. Unless you don't like pudgy faces. Well, yeah, I guess that makes sense. Anyways, that's all there is to say really on this chap, so we're moving right along. Toad Man! Not gonna lie, I used to think this guy looked extraordinarily stupid. Like, come on. A Toad Man? This is stupid. You're stupid. But as I've grown, and having already spoken about the groan-inducing Snake Man, oh my god, why does he look like that? I'm sort of happy they went all in on Toad Man's design. Granted, he's not always standing like a toad, he spends a significant amount of time on 2 legs, but I do like that his actual face pokes out of the mouth of his fake toad face. Very fun. I'll give him a 6 for design and a 6 for creativity. Totally cool. Do you get it? Because he's a toad. Toadman was created to irrigate crops during periods of drought, creating rainfall and generally moisturizing the ground, which, gross, but that's just how toads be. It's a very creative way to use a toad-like robot master, and I'm glad they did that instead of the Megaman 3 treatment of, he was built to jump very high or something. Wait, do toads jump high? I know frogs jump high, but to the extent of my limited toad knowledge, which is not a sentence I ever thought I was going to speak in my life, aren't toads just known for kind of sitting around? I don't know, I'll look it up later. Sidetracks aside, I give Toadman an 8 for purpose. For personality, Toadman is rather knowledgeable in the field of agricultural science, which just makes me imagine Toadman with a graduation cap holding a degree. Which is probably not as funny to you as it is to me, but whatever. He is also known to be a bit tone-deaf, man after my own heart, and can quickly become uncomfortable when in the company of Snake Man. And I mean, I get disgusted just looking at Snake Man, so I can't imagine what being in his company is like. It also doesn't help that snakes eat toads in the real world, but I hope none of the doctors that created these two implemented any sort of animalistic tendencies in that sense. Anyways, Toadman gets another 8. For weapon, Toadman was modified just a little bit. His normal attack is just trying to jump on you, but if you leave him alone for too long, he'll start to dance, which is the precursor to his ability, the Rain Flush. A screen-wide shower of acid rain, which is incredibly dangerous, I hear. Also, I love attacks that fill the entire screen in video games, so Toadman is getting his 3rd 8 in a row so far. This guy's on a roll. Now for safety. Oh, we just talked about the acid rain. Again, it's not his usual rain, but the fact that he can use it to begin with, and the fact that it covers such a large radius is what makes me hesitant to rank him among one of the more safe robot masters. If he couldn't make acid rain, then yes, incredibly safe. If not one of the safest, but as of now, I'm giving him a 6. Now, utility. Who can turn down irrigation, am I right? And he has a full set of limbs. No arm cannon in sight, so he could do regular-ass chores for you. Also, being able to make rain whenever you want is just really useful in itself. That's an 8 from me. Wow, I'm giving this guy a lot of 8s. And right as I say that, we approach the intimidation category. Okay, well at least he's a little scarier than Brightman, so I'll give him like a 3. For music, we've got a banger on our hands, even more so than Brightman. Very memorable melody, and it even sounds particularly arid, which, interestingly, is the type of area Toadman was created to eliminate via his irrigation abilities. But I digress. This is a certified jammer, so that's an 8 from me. Finally, preference. Looking at his score so far, I guess I like Toadman a lot more than I assumed. And that's part of why I was so interested in making this series. A large portion of these Robot Masters barely get a second thought, not getting a chance to shine, even if some shine brighter than others. No pun intended, Brightman. But I made this series to give every Robot Master an equal level of spotlight, and finally put them all on the same playing field, rather than giving any specific games special treatment. Hint, hint. That being said, not all the Robot Masters, and frankly not all the games, are created equal. But Toadman, after giving him some thought, is actually pretty cool. I'll give him an 8.86. There we go. Now for totals. Toadman, by some miracle, near breaches the 70 mark with a score of 69.86%. The only real flaw he has is his intimidation stat, which is very well something you could say about over half the Robot Masters we'll be talking about in this series, no doubt. He's just a very well-rounded Robot Master, aside from that. And I can tell that I am very much in my own terms of Toadman love, because the popularity poll ended up with Toadman at 57%. Significantly higher than Brightman, which is surprising. I figured fewer people would like the Toad character due to associating him with the slimy amphibian, but I'm glad they don't. Toadman deserves more, though. I need all my Toadman fans sounding off in the comments. You are not alone! Drillman! This guy was my jam when I was a kid. And now he's less my jam, but I still like him some. Part of why I liked him so much as a kid is just because of how excessive he was. 3 drills is definitely overkill, especially if they're replacing his arms. I still think it's cool, but now there are parts I'm less stoked about. Namely, the weird yellow bits with the lines. I don't know what I'd put in their place, or if I would change the color or what, but something about them just doesn't sit the same way it did when I was a kid. I'll give Drillman a 7 for design and a 5 for creativity. You'll never guess what Drillman was built for. Drilling. He just digs into the ground. I'm curious how many more land development Robot Masters we'll end up seeing before this series ends. Then again, it's a pretty lucrative market. Lots of land to go around. I'll give him a 6. For personality, I'm quite the fan. Drillman is a diligent worker, but dislikes planning ahead or calculating things, which means he tends to end up winging it or going on instinct, usually leading to very haphazard work, especially if he ends up getting bored of his work, because then he'll just rush through it. He also has a knack for finding things underground, such as hot springs, a gold mine, and many gas and water pipes. I gotta give Drillman a 10 here. It's probably the most fun personality I've seen out of any of these Robot Masters so far. What's not my favorite is his weapon. Drillman wields the drill bomb as his weapon, an explosive drill that can be set off remotely, which might sound familiar, as that is Crashman's weapon in everything but name. I would score Drillman a bit low in this category for plagiarism, but he has another attack where he digs in the ground and tries to shark you, which is quite fun. So I'll give him a 5. For Drillman's safety stat, 3 drills, explosives, and a dangerous, impatient worker. I don't know if I'd call that particularly safe in the slightest. That's what we call an open and shut case. For those who don't know, that means 1. For utility, Drillman has no arms, but he can dig in the ground and blow stuff up, so there's a few things he can do. But let's just say all of his eggs are in one basket. I'll give him like a 4. Next is intimidation. And hey, someone that's an actual threat finally. Not actually fear-inducing, I'd say, but those drills and bombs got to amount to something, right? I'll give him a 6. Now for music. I'd say it's alright. Doesn't really read as like a drilling or mining sort of song, but I still enjoy it. It's especially good around the middle, but around the end I feel like is where it loses its steam and falls kind of flat. That's just me, though. I'd still give it an 8, so I wouldn't say it's bad at all. Finally, preference. Drillman might have been one of my favorites as a kid, but he has definitely fallen from that top 10 spot. I still really like him. I've just noticed some gripes about him as I've grown up and matured as an artist and a general thing enjoyer. I give him like 6 1/4. That's probably fine. Now we've reached the end of Drillman. This time we've managed to dig up a score of 58.25% for our pointy friend here. I'd say that's absolutely fair. And the community agrees, because they ended up with a score of 58% for Drillman as well. Pretty darn close to being exactly the same. I wonder if we'll see a Robot Master's final score and popularity poll score end up being identical. We'll see. Hopefully that Chekhov's gun doesn't just sit on the desk for this entire series of videos. Regardless, I'm glad I got the chance to take a closer look at Drillman. Haven't really dug deep to look at him since I was a lad. See what I did there with the digging deep? Dug deep? Dug deep? That was pretty good, right? You can subscribe for that. You should subscribe for that. For more shitty puns, you gotta subscribe for that. You gotta! Pharaoh Man! I have some thoughts on Pharaoh Man. Well, do I? He's always been kind of one note to me. Very, as the kids would say, nothing burger. For design, Pharaoh Man is certainly a pharaoh above the neck. Below the neck, he's just kind of a regular Robot Master. No unique sort of decoratives or design on his body past his head, which I'll admit is kind of a shame. And on top of that, all of his pharaohness is condensed into a helmet that resembles King Tut's. That's it. He's got pauldrons, though. That's something, but I don't think it's enough to award him any extra points. Once again, I have to turn to Megaman Battle Network because they do something very interesting with him here, making him a sort of sarcophagus. Then again, I know this is the third time in this series I've brought up Battle Network, but it's a rare occurrence. It's only happened a handful of times. Anyways, this design is whatever. I think it's boring and uninspired. Sorry to the poor kid that submitted this guy to the Robot Master Art Contest. That's a 5 for design and a 2 for creativity. Yikes. Now for purpose. He was designed to explore pyramids and other ancient ruins, which does not seem like a super good purpose. Ruins and shit is limited in amounts, so once they run out, what the hell is he supposed to do? I give him like a 4. For personality, Pharaoh Man is said to be a collector of rare treasures, which I assume he finds during his exploration. He is also shy around women and has a disdain for tomb raiders. It's predictable, but it's better than nothing, I guess. I give it like a 4. For his weapon, I like this one. The Pharaoh Shot. A big ball that's charged with solar energy. I always love big balls of energy or like solar-powered things that need to be charged. It's incredibly cool. I'd give it like a 9. For safety, Pharaoh Man gets a 7. He seems pretty chill, aside from the big solar blasts of energy. And for utility, I'd give him a 9, due to his full set of limbs and his high resistance and agility. Intimidation. He's alright. I'd give him like a 6, I guess. He's nothing too scary, but he's not as bad as Toadman. And for music, it's very good. I like the percussion at the start, and I like the bass line at the very end as well. It's a pretty fun song. I'd give it a 9. Finally, we have preference. I mean, he's from Mega Man 4, so 4.4, I guess. Okay, total time. Pharaoh Man has amassed a total of 59.4%. A fairly average score for a below-average Robot Master. I'd chalk him not being ranked high up to his poor premise in terms of design and purpose, because he scored pretty good everywhere else. As for the popularity poll, Jesus Christmas! 78%? That is crazy! What the hell warrants this? That's like the highest popularity ranking on this list, period. Sorry to spoil that, but like 78% is as high as it gets. Pharaoh Man is like the most nothing burger character for having such a potential-filled concept. This is absurdity absolute. But whatever, it's not my choice, no big deal. We're halfway through Mega Man 4 now anyways, which is like a little over a quarter of the way through the entire series. Oh man, thinking about that is making my head spin. Let's just move on. Ringman! I straight up could not think of a single clever thing to say to start Ringman's section. Literally nothing comes to mind when I look at this guy. What on earth sort of conversation started or opening joke could I make with a guy who just has a bunch of rings on his body? I got nothing. Am I washed? For design, Ringman is just whatever. I don't dislike this design, it just doesn't do anything particularly at all. You could at least be bad. I'd prefer that, because then I'd have something to talk about. Ugh, that's a 5. And as for creativity, I don't know. When I see particularly creative designs, I think, oh, or, oh, that's clever, or, why didn't I think of that? But for Ringman, when I see this design, I go, oh, wow, would you look at that? I give it like a 3 for creativity. For purpose, Ringman was designed specifically to fight and kill Megaman. Dr. Cossack. Was there really nothing else you could think of for a robot designed for killing? Rings? Really? On one hand, that almost circles back into being funny, but I still think it's really weak, so I give it a 4. For personality, Ringman is described as a cruel egoist who shows no mercy to his enemies, which is kind of funny given how he fights with hoops. You know, it would have been cool if they had gone for a more carnival sort of theme with his actual design. That definitely would have boosted him in the design and creativity department for me, but we're past that now. I'll give him like a 5 for personality because it's okay. For weapon, we have the Ring Boomerang. Well, first off, that's just a terrible name because Boomerang was right there. Come on! It's supposed to be like a chakram sort of thing that boomerangs back to you after you throw it, and I like chakrams, so I can't score this weapon too low. But I still think Boomerang was a missed name opportunity. For safety, sure, his weapons might not be particularly dangerous, being just blunt rings and all that, but you also gotta take his personality into account. I would not feel safe around someone described as merciless and cruel. Plus, people with big egos are just jerks a lot of the time, so I'd give him like a 6 for safety. And for utility, I'm not sure what other use you'd be able to get out of Ringman that a human wouldn't be able to do, but I'm sure his rings would be good for something. Just might take some creativity. Hula hoop instructor? I've got nothing. I give him a 6. For intimidation, that's a 2. Strictly for his personality and the fact that his face is covered up in the mouth area. Something about that makes people more intimidating. And for music, wow, I think this might be the weakest mainline Mega Man stage theme, genuinely. I mean, I don't care much for Oil Man's, but that one at least has some kind of structure. This one is just slop. It starts off really promising. That intro flourish is fun, but then it just keeps that energy without any sort of deviation throughout the entire song. It's the same pace and tone throughout the whole thing with no stops. It doesn't help that between the main melody and the bass line, there's like this extra set of stray notes that clash with the main melody because they're the same pitch. I don't know what they were going for, but it's a very strange listening experience. Certainly not a good one. I'd give it like a 2. And lastly, there's preference. If this were to be a list of Robot Masters ranked in order of most memorable to most forgettable, Ringman wouldn't even be on the list. I'd forget to include him. That doesn't imply negative feeling towards him, not at all. He just means nothing to me. That's 2.02, I guess. Okay, let me finish off this ringy thingy. Ringman has rounded up a total of 42.02%. Yikes. I haven't seen a score that bad since Snake Man. Quite the low score for a very whatever Robot Master. His popularity poll ranking was in stark contrast because it seems people are fond of him. More so than Brightman, Toadman, and Drillman somehow. I have no idea what Ringman did to rig the system in his favor enough to get him a 60 in popularity poll rankings, but I'm also curious what these people think of this Ringman fellow to have him ranked above much more interesting Robot Masters. It would probably make for the most interesting thing about Ringman, studying why people think he's so popular, honestly. Moving on. Dustman! Finally, I get to talk about a cool guy from Mega Man 4. No offense, everyone else. For design, Dustman probably has one of the most unique shapes in the series by a considerable margin. The large duct on his head, the big wire between his large shoulder pads, it's all so peak. Absolutely love the look of this guy. I give him an 8 for design and an 8 for creativity. Very good. Dustman's designated purpose was sanitation, which is probably one of the best jobs to automate. Though, I don't know if a vacuum is the best method for sanitation. I would more use that for something like waste management. But hey, what are you gonna do? I give it a 7. For personality, it's pretty bare bones, being used as more of a description of a situation he frequently finds himself in, where Dustman overestimates how much garbage he can intake, and then he gets jammed. The only real part of his personality is that he enjoys spring cleaning and dislikes rodents, which are both extremely predictable for a sanitation robot, which I'm not really huge on. It does state that he suffers from bad breath, assumedly due to the garbage he sucks up. That's fun. I'll give him a 5. For weapon, Dustman fires the Dust Crusher, which is a bomb encased in scrap metal that basically acts like a frag grenade. He also attempts to suck you up into his vacuum as an attack, which is a very scary thought. I like the both of these. I give him an 8. For safety and utility, again we have the issue where he wouldn't be nearly as bad if it weren't for the bomb he uses, especially if it's made of shrapnel. The absolute best I can give him here is like a 5. I'm sorry, man. Utility, though, that's a 9. We got ourselves a robot that can do your chores for you, and one who loves spring cleaning? Hell yeah, dude. That sounds like a dream. For intimidation, I'd say he's on the more spooky side, mainly because I tend to imagine him as a lot bigger than he probably is, but this design makes him feel pretty big on its own. Good work on the design of this guy, whoever did it. I'd give him a 7. For his music, it's on the weaker side of Megaman songs, I think, but it's still quite good. Definitely not as bad as whatever Ringman has going on, but it's not spectacular like that Pharaoh Man's theme. Finally, there's preference. I like this guy. God, I wonder how many times I've said that so far. That's all I've been saying for the preference stat. Dustman is definitely in the running for my favorite Robot Master from this game. Interesting concept for a Robot Master with very good execution. I'd give him like an 8.81. Sure. Anyways, total time, Dustman has sucked up a total of 71.81%. Now we're getting somewhere. About time we had a score in the 70s. It's been too long. I can think of no other Robot Master more deserving than Dustman. His popularity poll ranking is a little disappointing, but it's not the absolute worst, I suppose. 64% is certainly respectable, especially considering the scale of the popularity poll doesn't really exceed 80%. It's hard to get that many people on board with one thing majority, but to sum this guy up, very cool and very good. For sure could have been my favorite from this game. If our very next Robot Master did not exist, that is. Sorry, Dustman. Dive Man, my goat! For those who don't know, which is probably everyone since I never talk about it, Dive Man is like in my top 5 Robot Masters. Out of all of them, he's that good. We haven't met any of the others yet, but I'll make sure to point them out when we see them. Enough fooling around, let's get into one of my favorite guys ever. I'm really praying that this system treats him fair. I'd hate to see him super low on the list. For starters, the design? This is fantastic! A concept like diving could have been wasted on something like old-timey scuba gear, but was blessed with the concept of what I can only describe as a suit of submarine armor. And we ended up with such a cool result, with the broad chest resembling a ship, and the fins on the legs, but it doesn't take itself too seriously either, adding a dinky little periscope on the top. I adore this design. It's one of those where I kick myself in the foot for not thinking of it first. I give Dive Man a 10 for design and a 9 for creativity. For purpose, Dive Man was created to act as a miniaturized submarine, capable of, I assume, everything a submarine can do, which is to submerge and go beep, beep, beep. Jokes aside, this is an incredibly good usage for a robot, since underwater is an incredibly dangerous place for humans to be. I mean, even coming out of the deep water, you could get hurt. The Benz is a bitch, you know? I'll give him a 9 for purpose. Fantastico. For personality, Dive Man was given something pretty fun. He's a good listener who is honest and loyal, as a Marine would be. He also likes to look at coral reefs in his spare time, but actually gets motion sick pretty easily despite being aquatic. Another Bubble Man situation seemingly, but it's honestly kind of flipped on his head, given that Dive Man has trouble underwater, whereas Bubble Man has trouble out of water. It's quite the fun combination of traits, and it makes for a very appealing character. I'd love to see a cartoon about this guy in particular. I'll give him an 8 for personality. For his weapon, he wields the dive missile, which are homing missiles fired from his chest, not unlike a real submarine. Diveman is also capable of launching himself like a torpedo due to a design flaw, which deals major damage to whatever he hits. Both of these are incredibly cool attacks, and the way the torpedoes are incorporated into the submarine aspect of his design, rather than just being some kind of arm cannon weapon, is extra cool to me too. I give him a 9 for weapon. Now it's time for the two categories that trip even the best Robot Masters up. Safety and utility. Any Robot Master that has explosives for their weapon is going to be ranked pretty low on this list, but it's a teeny bit safer since they home in on targets instead of just exploding everything. Still like a 4. I'm sorry, Diveman. And for utility, he's about average, but I'd say his aquatic superiority gives him a little extra credit, even if he often gets motion sickness. So that's like a 6. Next is intimidation, and Diveman is probably the most intimidating Robot Master in this whole game. In a crowd of dweeby and dorky and tacky-looking robots, we finally get something that could genuinely instill fear in someone. As long as you're both in the water. I'd give him an 8 for intimidation. Onward to music. Dude, this is amazing. Another all-timer on the list of Megaman classics. You know your theme song is good when it gets into Smash Bros. You're not seeing something like fucking Ringman's theme getting into Smash anytime soon. Unless it's one of those weird medleys they do of the original tracks. I don't know what the deal is with those. Anyways, moving on. Preference time, and no doubt about it, I've held on to it too long for this video. I'm giving Diveman my top score of 10 in preference for Mega Man 4. Such a cool Robot Master all around. Cool character, balanced design, and stellar theme. I think of no other Robot Master more deserving of this one. This is the top 5 favorites treatment after all. Now then, it's time for totals. Diveman is a very special case today. He is our first Robot Master in this series to breach past the 70s, with an insane score of 83%. An astronomically high number given how critical the categories are for the Robot Masters. Diveman thankfully studied before this test and managed to get an honorable score in everything except for safety, which is just the way the cookie crumbles for this sort of thing. Now, his popularity poll ranking is just unacceptable, man. Who, in their right mind, would give Diveman a 57%? Are we out of our minds? The only reason I could see for this is maybe his stage is just super annoying and his boss fight is super hard, which is fair, whatever. But come on! That's totally disproportionate to how cool Diveman is. Utter crap, and I won't stand for it. Let's just move on to the next Robot Master before I burst a fucking blood vessel. Man! I mean, I guess he's fine. I don't know. I don't quite see the appeal. Sure, he looks neat. I just think he's a bit overkill, kind of like Drillman. For design, I just think there could have been a little more here, you know? I think all he would have needed to really make this design is some kind of additional piece somewhere. Like a torn cape tied around his back, or maybe a hooded cloak. Something to make him seem more menacing and grim, if you get what I mean. Without it, he just feels kind of plain. I do like the dedication to black and white in his design, though. It makes him stand out amongst the other Robot Masters. I'll give him a 4 for design and a 5 for creativity. For purpose, we have another dud, as Skullman was created specifically for combat, which is like whatever, it's something, but you're not going to be making any top scores with such a common purpose as that. 5. Next is personality, and it's actually not bad. He is a strategist who has insane attention to detail regarding his tactics, but because of how hardwired he is for combat, he lacks skills elsewhere, frequently finding himself in awkward social situations. He's also a big fan of horror movies, and I can't blame the guy. If I looked like that, I'd cling onto that sort of thing as well. I give Skullman a 7 for personality. For weapon, we have another shield type, the Skull Barrier, which creates skull-shaped energy balls that rotate around Megaman. I wonder if he hears the Bad and the Bone riff every time he uses it. He can walk around while it's active, unlike the Leaf Shield from Woodman that it's based on, but it cannot be thrown like the Leaf Shield, so it's sort of a trade. I respect the added mobility. It's more fitting for a combat Robot Master, which is also what Woodman was. Huh. Don't know why he couldn't move during his... that's besides the point. I also like the dedication to the theming by somehow morphing the energy balls to be in the shape of skulls. I give him a 6 here. For safety... He's a combat robot master with a cannon arm. Sure, it's not explosives, but being so hyper-focused on combat that you're lacking in social awareness is a level of danger that I don't think anyone would trust. I'd give him a 4 here. And for utility, it's tough to be as useful as other robot masters when you're missing a hand. I could see him getting some use as a bodyguard, but I don't think you could get him to take care of your daily chores while you're out at work without him causing a ruckus. That'll be a 4 from me. Next is Intimidation. And you know what? Fine. I'll give Skullman the benefit of the doubt. I think someone running into Skullman in the dark would be afraid of the guy who is covered in skulls. So I'll give him a 6. Up next is Music, and this is the best part of Skullman's stats. I don't think it's as much of a winner as like Dive Man's theme, but it's also pretty recognizable. A fun theme that I'd say is pretty fitting. I can't say someone like Drillman's theme is fitting, and Ringman's is, well, I don't even know what I would describe as Ringman's music. But Skullman's feels appropriately spooky and combative, so I'll give it like a 7. Not a half-bad job. Finally, there's the preference stat. I mean, whatever, right? I wish he had some kind of clothing accessory, but that's not really a thing you get unless you're a racist caricature and need to be covered up to avoid people seeing your face. Looking at you, Oil Man! I'll give him like a 4.61. Whatever, Skullman is just whatever. Now it's total time. Skullman has managed to dig up a total of 52.61%. Strange. I thought it was going to be higher based off of how I was talking about him. I guess a lot of the praise I was giving Skullman was to his potential, not anything he actually ends up doing. Kind of a disappointment, and it's kind of a fitting, disappointing kind of score. The popularity poll score, though. What in God's name did Skullman do to get a 74%? 74%? Is it opposite day? What is going on? Can Dive Man and Skullman swap their popularity polls, please? Pretty please, have a heart. Where am I pulling that from? What did that activate? What memory is this? Sounds like I know that's a reference to something. What the hell is that? Okay, let's just move on. I'll be here all night trying to figure out where that's from. Looks like we've somehow done this a 4th time now. For those of you who are still out there, I congratulate your patience and willpower. You will be rewarded by the end of this series. Somehow, I think. Here's the list of all the Robot Masters in this game, from worst to best. Ringman, Skullman, Brightman, Pharaoh Man, Drillman, Toadman, Dustman, and the Guard! Honestly, this is a pretty good spread of scores. Quite varied, going from 42% all the way to the 80s. Very good variety. And for those keeping score at home, the total score of all the Robot Masters combined comes out to 562.13%, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the highest total score from any of these games we've seen so far. Nicely done, Mega Man 4. This game is one of the more mixed bags of the series, with disappointments like Skull and Ringman, some average Joes like Bright and Pharaoh Man, and some of my favorites like Dust and Dive Man. I much rather prefer a varied cast of characters like that, even if I don't end up liking some of them, because for every Robot Master I don't really like, it ends up being someone else's favorite, which is pretty evident from Skullman, because how does he have 74? Any narp. That's gonna be all I've got for today's video. So I would absolutely love it if you could stay a moment while my secretary Bonnie shows you some art, and I talk about some of my other ventures I think might interest you. If you didn't know, I've got a second channel now, called Goose's Golden Gallery. It's where I post all my music, art, outtakes, and other stuff. If you were wondering where all the Punch-Out themes were, they're over there now. Although I haven't really made one yet, but that's where they will be if I make another one. The link for that will be in the description, alongside my TikTok, my Blue Sky, and my Newgrounds. I post extraordinarily funny things, and other things too, like my art and just random creative blurbs. Worst case scenario, you don't follow me, and in that case I'll wrap my car around a tree, so no biggie. I also have a Discord server, the Honk House. That's where me, my friends, and all my viewers hang out and talk, share art, and occasionally have game nights and whatnot. It's great. Also, how do I get you guys to become headliners? That's what I call channel members. I'm not sure what other perks I could possibly give. You guys get access to emotes on streams, first dibs on watching new videos, votes to decide on the priority of specific future videos, a private channel in the Honk House, your name in the credits of videos, and even a little doodle alongside your name. All that for $3! Oh, to get that little doodle, though, you'll have to join the Discord server to let me know how you'd like me to draw your head. Also, feel free to commission me for art, contacting me via Discord or Blue Sky. Obviously, you're not obligated to commission me, but you know, everything sucks right now, especially for creatives, so if you have some spare change, you could throw it my way and I could get you some art in return. I feel like that's a pretty decent trade. Finally, if you have any fan art of me you'd like to share, tag me in it on social media or post it in the channel of my Discord server, and I'll put it at the end of my videos with credit. Okay, I think that's everything for me today. My name is Goose. I thank you very much for watching. And, wouldn't it be funny if Megaman 12 came out during the tenure of this series and I have to make the series even longer to cover it? That would be super fun. Was the sarcasm obvious? I don't know if the sarcasm was obvious. Okay, bye!